What's up? Welcome back. I'm John Stark from MacTheMovieGuy.com. If you're a blind film critic, and we're back with A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, Season 2, Episode 4. I think they dropped it on Max a little early. I wasn't paying attention to it, though. They were like, I don't know, it's going to be up against the Super Bowl, so maybe we put it out there. I'm not sure why that matters, because people are going to check it out anyway, like on streaming. I don't really. You could have put it out like the day of, like I just. What was the point? People could have added this to their pre-Super Bowl party, like, yo, you guys want to see the Dine of Seven Kingdoms before the Super Bowl? No, no one. Am I the only one watching that? I. So, yeah, I continue to watch the show because not Chris O'Dowd is really engaging as Duncan. He is he's an endearing character with sort of this old school heroism behind him, the desire to do the right thing, and it's not cloying at you. He just feels like he is a good person, and he feels like he's an innately good person in a franchise that lacks that. Every once in a while we get somebody like that. I thought it was really dismissive. For those of you who watch other channels, Critical Drinker is a fan of the show, and he kind of dismissed Game of Thrones slash House of the Dragon as being like a clusterfuck of people who don't have, who are just sort of in like morally gray areas. And it's like, I don't know. I know he doesn't like girl bosses, but like when you look at like Brianna of Tarth, uh, played by Gwendolyn Christie, there's a character for you who seeks to do the right thing. She is on a path to do just what is right, what is just. And that is where we're meeting Duncan, is somebody who really takes this knight's code seriously. So it's not like we haven't seen this before in the Game of Thrones universe. It's just they're unused to seeing it in men. At some point, the men become morally compromised, and to see Duncan, and as a byproduct, honestly, Egg is a pretty solid, um, uh, morally uncorrupt, morally unbankrupt co-lead. To see these two trying to navigate a world that doesn't want them to navigate it is interesting. It's intriguing. So, in the last episode, Duncan accidentally kicked Prince Assface in the face, and they're about to curb stomp him in a show that really needs to find a tonal shift. It's not that I don't like Night of the Seven Kingdoms. I've ended every review saying I'm still positive, I'm still positive, I'm still positive, I'm still fresh. But the tonal shifts in these shows are just like, I feel like we're gonna get in the middle of the battle in the next episode, and like we're gonna take a cut to like, I don't know, like a horse peeing on someone. It's just like it's so random. It's like we have to include this random potty humor joke because back in the day they had stories like this that had. It's like not everything we did in the past needs to be repeated in the future. That's just the way it is. And I think the show would be better if it had if it just accepted a tonal shift. A great example of this would be Andor, which structurally separated itself from the Star Wars franchise, especially even more so in season 2 when it really started um, diving into sort of the Machiavellian construct that it was trying to do in terms of seeing all of the different little political aspirations of these characters, and how sort of the pieces were falling into place, and you're watching them sort of fall in the last half of that season. Feels very different from the highly action oriented, may the force be with you, lightsabers and Baby Yodas that everything else is trying to do when it's trying to really insert a story to you full of political aspiration to drive the core of it. And there's something here about Night of the Seven Kingdoms that's working, but at the same time, they also feel the need to do the other, which I totally disagree on. I think Duncan slash Egg is enough of a story that it makes enough of a difference that without the constant poop, fart, pee, urine, vomit, whatever jokes we're going to be making in the future, that it actually can stand on its own. It's like not having enough faith in something and then coming back around to it and being like, oh, well, what did we have to add this thing to it because I'm afraid if we don't, it won't be able to survive on its own. It's like, that's a fallacy. I think it does survive on its own. I think it's perfectly fine, and what you're doing to it diminishes the quality of the product. So Duncan is told that he from Egg, well, he's spared first, and he ends up in the cell, and Egg explains to him that he's Aegon. Egg is short for Aegon, and he's it's in line for the throne. He's part of the royal family. Not eminently, but he's not next in line. But and he's the younger brother to the asshole, and he doesn't like his brother. So they feed Duncan, and then Duncan goes to meet his uncle, Aegon's uncle. I think it was his uncle anyway. He said it was his uncle. I could have been his father. Who knows? Um, and so Aegon goes there, and he gets chastised a little bit, and Duncan stands up for him, even though he was mad at Aegon and says, he didn't. The boy didn't mean any harm. He was a good squire. He was very responsible, and actually compliments Aegon. And so, but he's told basically that because he, hit a member of royalty, regardless of the reasoning, um, even though Duncan says, as a knight, I'm supposed to protect the innocent. And yeah, it was like, but you kicked royalty in the face. So there's a court, and they've never ruled against it before. And generally, when this happens, you end up losing the offending um, body part. So he would stand to lose his hand for having struck, and also because he kicked his foot. So he offers him an alternative, which is trial by combat. So so Duncan goes and tells Prince Assface that he'd like to face him in trial by combat, and then that guy, who is a total uh, fart of a human being, decides to invoke some weird seven somethings, um, where basically there's some old rule that nobody ever uses, and he's invoking this thing that hasn't been used in years, where there's a lore that says something that if a man that it's a 7 versus 7, so he has to find 6 men to join him on this quest, and then he'll find, of course, he'll order 7 of the King's Guard to defend him, to stand in for him, but Duncan has to find 6 men who will stand with him. And the idea is that if he's guilty, nobody will stand with him. But if he's not guilty, then people will be willing to stand and fight for him. So he has a little bit of a hard time getting those people, but he eventually does, and that's kind of where the episode cuts. Is it takes a while for him to get that ragtag group together, and they're not maybe all the best knights, and they're about to fight the King's Guard. So it'll be interesting to see if they all survive. He knights some guy like right at the last minute because his brother was supposed to fight, and his brother like trades sides, and becomes a traitor. So he's like, let me take my brother's place, knight me. So yeah, but he does eventually get the people. There's a scene where he has to give an impassioned speech. He gives an impassioned speech to this crowd, and it's a great speech. And then it's met with like nothing from the crowd, and then there's this dramatic moment where this tall, burly man stands up like he might join the cause, and then he just lets out like a fart. I'm like, God damn it, show. Did you need that? Did you need that? I would love for people to just sit down and see edits of the show who haven't and just show them without all of the toilet humor in it. Take out all the toilet humor and see what people like, if they like the show better, because I have a feeling it would be liked better. I don't think that this improves the show. I don't think it makes it any better. I think if you remove all of those crappy jokes that they keep making, literally crappy, that the show would actually, people would be like, oh, this is even better. Wow, look at that. Isn't that amazing? So if it doesn't make the show better, then why is it there? So, um, anyway, I still like Night of the Seven Kingdoms because Duncan and Meg, I think, are inherently good people that I would like to see go on further journeys. But man, I want them to totally figure out what's going on here. I also really like the uncle. I thought the conversation that he had with Duncan was nice, and he seems actually well measured. And in terms of leaders in the whole Westeros cinematic universe, um, he seems like one of the more reasonable ones that we've had. So, um, another decent character. So we're starting to flesh out so that we have an ensemble cast. And the other ex brother is just easy to hate. He's such a douche, such a douche, and apologetically so. He's everything that's wrong with entitlism. You know, just like this idea that he doesn't have to fight and other people will fight his battles for him. And they even call him out on it. They're like, "Are you so afraid to fight him that you would summon other people to fight in your stead?" It's my right. It's like, well, you're right. So yeah, he's obviously, the guy that wouldn't joust anybody, that decided to kill the horse instead of kill the rider. Um, this guy's a winner. I can't wait to see him die because he's going to at some point in the show. Um, so anyway, who will kill him though? My bet's on Egg. My bet is that Egg is gonna have to kill his brother in order to save Duncan. So, uh, yeah, I think I'm still positive. I'm still fresh. I'm sort of in the 6.5 to 7 range. Like, it's not super fresh, but it could be a lot higher. I think there's an edit of this show that floats above an 8, like, without the humor. At least it floats a point, like, between 7.5 and 8. Like, it at least goes up there. But I'm still enjoying it to some extent. I'm not gonna throw it under and tell you not to watch it yet. I just, with trepidation. It's hard for me to say this is the best thing that's in the Game of Thrones universe, you know, because it's not. There are seasons of Game of Thrones that are just fantastic. There are scenes from Game of Thrones that I'll remember forever, and even more so than House of the Dragon, which I think has had a couple moments where I'm like, oh shit, that was really good. Um, there's just a couple moments from Game of Thrones that I just think are tremendous moments, and I do love them, and characters that I came to love that I'm more endeared to, even though Duncan is very endearing. Even the complex natures of some of the characters, there were characters that ended up becoming morally compromised or fought being morally compromised and ended up having to make one or two choices that I thought were overall still their whole character arc was far more interesting. So yeah, that's where I'm at. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. And I'll be back with episode 5. Till then, see you guys on the other side.